Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Aiden. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO here at Fellow. I am so excited to talk to you today about Fellow version 3.1. It is going to be a game changer. So many things that all of you have been anticipating for so long, we're going to announce today. And so the thing you have to understand about meetings is a meeting is nothing but a workflow. It's a way of moving work forward. And so what we've done today is we've turned each and every one of your meetings into a different type of workflow. A different type of meeting requires a different set of tools. And today we've given you that power, that flexibility, and that programmability to take each and every meeting into a different type of format so that you can have the most effective meetings that you've ever had. There's so much we're going to announce today. And without further ado, let's dig right in. So we're back.
Let's do it. We're doing it again, another version of Fellow. And this time, Aiden, I'm so excited to see what our team has built because I know there are some really big surprises.
Oh yeah. You know, like my favorite thing about this is that I think for a lot of people, they'll say, well, they just released Fellow version 3 like 3 months ago. And now it's Fellow 3.1. So surely this can't be a big update. Like it's probably, you know, a bunch of like little things, maybe they tweak this here and there, but surely it's not going to be like a major upgrade, or there's probably not going to be any big things, but I think that they're going to be surprised. I'm so excited. I think we should get started.
Let's get started.
You know, you probably saw this in the because we did talk about this, right, in the preview, but the idea behind Fellow version 3.1 was, so here's the thing, there's a lot of different types of meetings. Each meeting is a playbook, is a different process. And so it makes sense that for a one-on-one meeting, you might want to have different tools in your toolkit, and for a staff meeting, different ones, and for a weekly design review, different ones, and for a quarterly business review, different ones. And so if every meeting is slightly different and has a slightly different workflow, then perhaps Fellow should allow you to adapt every meeting to that particular workflow. And so that is what today is about. And I'm super excited to get started. Shall we start with item number 1? One of the things that you may notice is that, you know, if you kind of take a little bit of a peek at the top here, you see that there is so that you can start things, you can watch or unwatch streams. This is really useful if you kind of want to know whenever someone adds something to a particular meeting or stream, you can click on that. And then there's this like very beautiful lightning bolt. Kind of reminds me of like Harry Potter tattoo a little bit. What is this? It's called automations, meeting automations. So when I click on this, you're going to see that we have a bunch of different things that we can go through. You can see that there's 3 items here. The first of which is a time saver. So this is really useful. What is one of our favorite sayings here at Fellow for meetings?
No agenda, no attenda.
And so we thought we'd automate that. And so the way that we're doing that is it's this time saver automation. I'll show you how it works. You can configure it. And so you can have the option of specifying how much before the agenda you should get a notification about there not being an agenda. And if there is no agenda, then you have a few options. You can display a banner. I highly recommend that this is there, because then what happens is if this banner is displaying, if the meeting has no agenda and you go into it, then there's going to be a banner at the top, and then you can just cancel the meeting, and that shows up in Fellow. The other one is if you're the meeting organizer that's setting this up, you can actually have it cancel automatically. So that's an option that you can choose. And you can also decide who should get a notification about there being no agenda. Because one of the things that we like to do is we don't want you to participate in any meetings that are just not prepped. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. An agenda is a plan for a meeting. And so if there is no plan, it doesn't make sense to go into that meeting. And therefore we've built this time-saving workflow.
That is so helpful. I know some of the managers at Fellow were sending the agendas on Slack, just reminding people, hey, please add items to the agenda. But as a meeting organizer, this is going to save so much time. No wonder why we called it the time saver.
Yeah. And so you brought up another good point, which is the pre-meeting reminder. So this is a really important one. So at Fellow, you've probably noticed that for one-on-one meetings, we've always been sending pre-meeting reminders, but we haven't really given you the power and the flexibility to determine pre-meeting reminders for every other type of meeting. This one is done really well. So when I click on pre-meeting reminder, if I'm to configure this, you can see that I can add more than one notification. So right now I have a notification that says 1 hour before by Slack, send a notification and send it to the silly channel, just a funny name that we've chosen. And you can even add a custom message. And look here, we've pre-programmed this to say no agenda, no attenda, which is pretty awesome. And then the other nice thing is, like, if I go back to here, you can see that you can also send more than one. So I also have a notification that 4 days before, and of course, maybe 4 days is excessive. Maybe I want to make it 1 day before. I can actually send another reminder, and this time by email. And I have the option of either sending it to all participants, which is a default, or I can select a series of these participants. And here's the cool thing. If I click on this, it's going to show me all the participants to the meeting, and I can choose which one of those participants that I want to send a reminder to. Maybe I don't need to send a reminder to all of them, but only a subset of them. Then I can do that. And of course, if I want to, I can just send it to everybody. So that's an option that you can use there too.
I think that's very thoughtful. The fact that it shows you the people who are attending the meeting, and you, as a meeting organizer, you don't have to remember who is attending, who is invited. Fellow just shows you automatically, which is really cool.
And here's the best part, right? So the custom message and the ability for you to send multiple of these, what might happen is I might send an email to Kim Huntington and say, hey, Kim, don't forget specifically to update this section of the meeting, right? So I can actually send custom notifications to different people. And again, there's no limit. So I can set, so for each person, I can send a different one. I can send different things to different Slack channels. And my favorite part about, obviously it's not just Slack, it's also MS Teams or email or whatever you want to use. But here's the best part. If you send a pre-meeting notification in Slack, then people can add to the meeting agenda in Slack without ever leaving Slack. So imagine this, you have your marketing like Slack channel, and you have your marketing staff meeting coming up, and then you get this Fellow notification inside that Slack channel, and people are just reminded, but they can also just right in Slack start adding to the agenda. I think this is going to increase engagement for your meetings. I think more meetings are going to happen with agendas, and more people are going to go prepared into those meetings.
Yeah, I love what you said about you need to show up prepared. And if you don't prepare, you're prepared to fail. So we should have this mindset for all our meetings as well. And I think these meeting automations will help everyone with that.
Yeah. And so here's another super useful one, which is the post-meeting recap. So this one I love, and I'll tell you why. So right now I have this set up very simply, which is 1 hour after, send an email reminder. So say, I want to show you how I can build this again. So this is what the screen looks like. If I add a recap, I can send a recap, whatever I want. Maybe I want it 4 hours afterwards. And then I can do it either by email, Slack, or MS Teams. And of course, I have the option of sending it to all participants, which is the default, or I can send it to specific people. But here's my favorite part. When I click on this, it does show me, basically the attendees that I can send it to. But here's something that you may not have seen. Maybe I want to send an email to, say, john@cnn.com. I'm just making that up. But basically, you can actually send it to people outside of your organization, or you can send it to people that were not even part of the meeting. And so you can think about the magic of that. And
yeah, that's really cool. Aiden, what's a scenario or a use case where you would do this? Let's say I have a meeting, and then why would you want to get a recap of that?
Well, let me ask you. So now that you have this, what are you going to use it for?
Well, actually, now that you asked, the first scenario that comes to mind is we do have a lot of meetings with agencies that you're not a part of. But sometimes I'd like to give you quick updates on things that they say or recommend. So it could be a good idea to just automate these recaps and send you the meeting notes after every time we meet, for example.
Yeah, I mean, this is amazing. One of the things is like, we want you to have what we like to call lean meetings. So have only the most necessary people who are going to add value to the meeting to be a part of it. And one way that you can help make this happen is, like, imagine if they got recaps, including the decisions, the action items, and everything else without having to attend. I think this is going to change the game. And just like the other one, Manuela, you can actually send different things to different people. So To the external party, you could send a message just to say, please review, section B or something. And what's nice about this is these automations, these are particularly useful for any recurring meetings, right? Because yes, you could click on send notes, because we have a send notes button, and you can do that after a meeting, but now you can, it's just, you put it on autopilot, you set it and forget it, and you're always going to look like a professional. I always used to think, those managers that like walk into meetings and they're very organized, like everything is prepped, and then afterwards they're sending out the notes. It's just like such a professional stance. And especially if you're working with external organizations doing that. And so now you can automate it. We make it easier than ever for you to look amazing in front of all the people that you work with.
Yeah, that's our goal, to make you look like a star in every meeting, just like the most organized person and meeting host.
So here's an interesting use case. I want to point this out because for this, because we talked about, you can use this for different types of meetings. And so the first thing that we said was, well, this is amazing because it's going to make some things like external meetings much better with the recap. It's going to make things more collaborative because everybody's going to participate. But here's a very, very useful thing. One of the meetings that we strongly encourage to be asynchronous as opposed to synchronous, meaning that you shouldn't all be there at the same time. You should do it basically asynchronously, is the stand-up meeting or the status meeting. Status meetings or update meetings, those should not happen with everybody being there at the same time. That's something that we recommend here at Fellow. And the way that you can do this, now what's really interesting is you can actually program a status meeting into Fellow. And some people have been using maybe some other tools for this sort of automation, but now you can do it in Fellow. So imagine this, you have a daily stand-up at 9:30 a.m. And so you have a pre-meeting reminder that goes out to your Slack channel. Everybody's adding their parts and what they worked on and what their obstacles are. And then at the end of the day, that meeting recap goes out to the same Slack channel or by email. And so now everybody gets to see what everybody else was working on. And so you've now automated the stand-up process, and you've done it all in Fellow. So to me, the meeting automation, one of the jobs to be done for this feature is that you can now take all of your stand-up meetings and you can automate them directly in Fellow. I think that's super powerful.
And make them asynchronous. Yeah, I think people love examples. And one of my favorite examples of a meeting that we do asynchronously at Fellow is our weekly update. So every department updates the node with updates from marketing, sales, customer success, product. We don't have to meet in person to give those updates, but then we send a meeting recap with the notes and updates. So I think that's an awesome way to use Fellow.
I mean, this is super exciting. So we told everyone that this is going to be a big release. And so hopefully the first item you've seen starts pointing in that direction. You might think that maybe these people, they're talking about these fellows, they're talking about the most important thing first. And then, maybe after this, it's just going to be easy peasy, some minor stuff, but this release is different. It's actually going to accelerate. Everything we're announcing gets better than the last. So let's talk about something else.
Wow. So what's update number 2?
Okay. So update number 2 is really cool. I'm very, very excited about it. Let me ask you a question. What is one of the things that people tend to talk about in meetings the most?
So we have staff meetings where we talk about wins, we talk about goals, priorities, action items for the week.
Cool. And you use the word priorities and goals. And so this is a very interesting thing, right? Like when you think about this concept of priorities or goals, how many meetings is this talked about in? We have our staff meetings, one-on-ones. You should be talking about goals. You should be talking about them in staff meetings and quarterly business reviews. It seems that so much of our meetings is about talking about the target and where we're going towards. And one of the things that we've heard very often, the problem with a lot of goals is that, a lot of times you set them, like you spend the time, you put them in a spreadsheet, but then nobody looks at the spreadsheet ever again. And so if you kind of want to move towards something and you want to have a target, it's very useful for you to see that target all the time and see it where you tend to want to discuss them, which is in meetings. And so one of the things that we were very, very excited about was like, how can we help teams better achieve their goals, have more effective meetings, especially meetings where they're discussing those goals. And so that's why we decided to build a brand new feature, and we're calling it objectives. And so if you notice, there's this nice little tab on this meeting, and it's called objectives. It is a tab that is optional that you can add at different points in time to your meetings. And I'll show you how to turn this on and off for different meetings. But let's click on this and see what it's all about. And you can see that these are the objectives that have been added to this particular meeting. And there's this one objective, which is to reach $200 million in ARR. Seems like a pretty good target. And so when I click on this, now you get to see something really cool, which is, to achieve this target, you now have what you need to do is you need to do this, this, and this, and each one is owned by a different team, the marketing, sales, and customer success team. And it seems that to get to this 200 million in ARR, there's also another concept, which is a sub-objective. So we are following the OKR model, the objectives and key results model for this goal setting. And so, last year, the company was at 100 million. And so now we want to add another 100 million. And so this is a sub-objective that exists here. And you can see that now has its own breakdown as well. So what's really cool about this is the objectives for this particular meeting are showing up during this particular meeting. So the idea is we'll be in our meeting, we'll be talking about our goals, and we can flip through, see our goals, and then flip back and continue the meeting. And so this power is super, this is super, super powerful. And so let me show you how you can turn this on and off for any one of your meetings. We now have this more action section. And so what's cool about this is if you go to stream settings, you now see that there is a tab called objectives. And so you can toggle this on and off. You see, if I turn it off, it disappears in the background. And if I turn it on, it's going to reappear. And then you have the ability to decide what goals should be here. And so what I've decided to do is I've decided to show any goals assigned to the marketing team in this meeting. And I've decided to show ones from the cycle of full year 2022. So this is really, really powerful because let me show you something else. You might say, well, I have one-on-one meetings. And so what if I wanted to show individual goals during the one-on-one meeting? And so what I can do is let me go to my one-on-one section and I'll go into your fake profile over here. And you can see that there's an objective section here as well. And so maybe for here, what I want to do is, as opposed to the assignee seeing all the marketing team goals, what I want to do is see any goals, say, that are assigned to you. Whatever you want, you basically have the filtering and the ability to make those changes. So what's really powerful about this is whether you're in a one-on-one meeting, whether you're in a group meeting, and depending on what kind of goals are relevant, you can now add those as a function to that Fellow meeting. Yeah, and so the thing is, not every meeting should have this, right? And so because not every meeting should have this, what we've done is we've made it optional for you to be able to add this to any meeting or not.
Yeah, that's amazing, Aiden. I have two questions about this feature. So the first one is, I noticed that you can also select to filter by status. And I think that's really cool because I'm assuming you can filter by things that have been completed or things that are on track versus not on track. So how does that work?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So for any one of these meetings, one of the goals here at Fellow is to be the world leader in meeting productivity content. I think we already are the world leader to a lot of, but I still think that it's a very important goal for us. So what we can do is, this is one of those goals that we are never really done with because we're kind of inventing the future of meetings and we're making them better all the time. But we can be on track. So that's a thing that you can do. You can set the statuses for these. You can do things like set deadlines for them. You can see that there's a completion metric here. So let me show you how that works. So if I press edit, now you have the ability to see all the key results that lead to this objective being on track. And so each one can have its own due date. You can see that one of the key results here was have presence at 15 conferences. So what you might want to do is change the target as opposed to 100, make the target 15, and then say that we're at 5, for example, right now. you can see that as I start to update this, the progress starts to update. And the other nice thing is you can change the weighting. If this goal is really, really important, I can give it a 4x rating. And as you make these changes, you can see that the progress is updated. And so here's the thing. One of the questions you might ask is, well, who can update these things? And so obviously anyone who's a collaborator on this item can do that. And so what you'll notice is we also have an activity feed, and you can see who has made changes or updates. Yeah, so this is, and then if you go to the settings section, you can also choose, because there's a lot of goals that are going to be more than just one team, right? And so you can add different collaborators, you can add different owners, and you can even change things like the visibility of any of these goals. So what do you think about this? Is this something that would be useful to you? And what kind of meetings do you think you would bring your goals into?
This is so useful. Like you said, I think it's useful for team meetings where we review goals. We also have our departmental meetings where different departments come together to review quarterly goals. So I think that's amazing for this. And like you said, for one-on-ones, sometimes you just want to talk about goals, priorities, and how you can help people on your team reach those goals. So I think it's going to be very powerful for those types of meetings.
Yeah. And so the thing that I wanted to say about this is a feature in beta. We could spend another 2 hours talking about how many things you can do with it. It's a pretty comprehensive product built right into Fellow. We're calling it objectives. You can see that we've slapped on a nice little beta tag on it. This is going to be available. Once this release goes live, we will have this available, but for customers who are interested in chatting about this and getting early access to it, please reach out to us and we can enable it for your account. We're selectively rolling this out because it's still in beta. There are still some things that we are building into it, but we're using it internally. We have some customers who are already on there, and we're looking to add more to continue to build it out before we make it a generally available product. But for all of those who have been asking about it, it is now here, so reach out to us and we can set that up. And by the way, you can access this in your home panel. Just go to the My Objectives tab and you can see all the goals for the whole company, and you can kind of go through it like that. Any goals that are visible. And of course, if you're wondering, how do I create these goals? It's in the create objective section and so on and so forth. But one thing I did want to mention, and this is really important, is you kind of notice there's this new concept in Fellow. It used to be that everything was individual based. So, this is being assigned to me, or this is being assigned to Jack. And by the way, I'm Aiden, but, fake profile, just in case you were wondering, I did not change my name. I do like my name. How do you create teams? And so this is a new thing that we've also added in Fellow. And this is this concept that we're calling teams. You can add a team by clicking on this plus button right in your home panel, and you can name a team, you can add members to it. And this is a really cool thing, which is you can even add a handle to the team. So for example, if you wanted to create a marketing team, you could type the marketing handle. This is early stages. Today, the teams are mainly used for the purpose of objectives. However, one of the things that we are working on in the future is we are going to allow you to use this in many, many other ways. So let me give you a sense of this. So when I go, for example, to sample team, you can see that today you can see the objectives for that team, which is really powerful. But in the future, imagine like a concept of being able to give feedback to a particular team or be able to tag a team in a meeting note. So there's a lot of fun things that can come from this, but this is kind of the first version of this. And right now it's mainly to serve the objectives, but we're laying the groundwork to do some amazing things with it afterwards as well.
I can already imagine all the cool things we'll be able to do with this concept of teams. So can't wait to see what our team builds.
Yeah. So with that said, let's talk about something else that is super, super powerful. And that is the concept of another thing that you tend to do in one-on-one meetings. So we care a lot about one-on-one meetings. As you know, we have the Super Managers podcast and Manager TLDR newsletter. We just produce so much content about management and leadership. And of course, a lot of that is surrounding meetings, but we just care about helping empower managers and their teams to work better together. So one of the things that we've really worked on is in the one-on-one section, we've always had the ability to see feedback. And you can see that if in this one-on-one, if there was new feedback, you see this little green icon here, which kind of indicates, hey, there's something new here. You should check it out. And so if you check it out, now you'll see that there is this new type of feedback that you can take a look at, and that is called 360 feedback. And so 360 feedback is something that we've now made it really, really easy for you to do. You've always kind of been able to do this in Fellow, but a lot of times people have been asking us, hey, we're using Fellow for one-on-ones, and how can we make it streamlined to basically do their performance reviews right inside of Fellow? And so now we've actually made the ability for you to do that. So let's take a look at something that has had some 360 feedback to give you a sense of what this can look like. So assuming Michelle had received some 360 feedback, you can see that there's new tabs, and there's a self-evaluation, a manager evaluation, and a direct report evaluation. And all of that can be noticed here. But one of the questions that you might ask is, well, how do I do this? If I'm a manager of a team, how do I actually go out and initiate 360 feedback? And the way that you do that is really, really simple. You just go to your feedback tab. And when you go there, you click on the create button, and then you click on this new thing that we've added called 360 feedback. So as soon as you do this, this is really, really powerful. Let me show you how it works. So you can see that we want to make this as fast and easy as possible. So by default, the first step is to select some templates. And if you're a workspace administrator, you can actually set templates for your whole company that are the defaults, or for your whole workspace that are the defaults. And of course, you can also browse templates for other things that you might want to use. And so, for example, so this is the peer template. And so I can, look down and choose a peer template, the peer evaluation. I can take a look at it, use this template. So I can add my own templates. And of course, Fellow has a bunch of default templates that you can use. And so once you've selected your templates, the next step is to add your team. And this is one of my favorite parts. So say I want to ask about Michelle. I click on Michelle, and it gets pre-populated. And because all the direct reports are added, the manager is added, and then it's really easy to do that for more than one person. So now I want to add Haley into the mix. And so as soon as I do that, you can see that the direct reports are added, the manager's added. And of course, I have the option of the peers, and we're going to suggest those options to make it easy for you. And as soon as you do this, you now have the ability to send this out. You can obviously preview it and click on send. And as soon as you do, basically this goes out. And as you know, if you use Slack, you'll get these notifications on Slack. If you use MS Teams on email, it makes it very, very easy for you to send out all of these requests.
Personally, I think it's a game changer that we released it before the end of the year, so all managers can use this feature before those end of year conversations.
Yeah. And so this is, by the way, very comprehensive. So each one of these is shown side by side. But the other nice thing is, if you have a lot of people that are, say you have 5 peers that are going to respond to this, as an example, we will actually summarize the results and show you the averages. And you can see it by question, or you can see it by person, which is another really, really powerful thing. And this is one of, I think, a lot of people who've been using feedback inside of Fellow are going to love this, which is you now have the ability to export the feedback directly into a CSV format. And so you can manipulate the responses, maybe selectively change it up so that when you're communicating some of that feedback in your one-on-one, you can include excerpts of these things. And so the manipulation and the export, that's another new thing inside of Fellow.
That's really cool. Well, congrats to the team that worked on 360 feedback. And speaking of feedback, Aiden, I heard rumors that there's another type of feedback in this new release.
Yeah, so there is another type of feedback, and this is something that people have been asking us a lot about, and that is a concept of anonymous feedback. And so we don't have time to go through it today, But what you'll notice is now when you're sending out a feedback request about anything, say it's about a meeting or a project that happened, you now have the ability of marking it as anonymous. And so when people respond to that, they can respond anonymously. So that is another new thing that we've added, and you'll get to see that as soon as you start to create a feedback request too.
Wow, so many updates. And I know Alexandra is coming after us with many more exciting integrations. So what else do you have for us?
Yeah, so we actually have a lot of other things. I will some notable mentions before we show something really, really, really cool. I think people are going to be very excited about that in just one second. But before I show you all that, what I wanted to say is you'll notice a bunch of other things inside of Fellow. One is performance improvements across the board. You'll now notice that many of our pages have progressive loading. So they load much faster. We've done a lot of work for very long meetings or recurring meetings that have been going on for a long amount of time. All of those load faster. So there's a lot of hidden work that's gone around in the background. And so you'll notice Fellow is a lot faster today than it even was 3 months ago. And the good news is we're not done. We want Fellow to be one of the fastest products that you've ever used. So we're continuously working on that. And but hopefully you'll notice some of the changes that have gone in very, very recently. One other thing that I did want to mention is if you use our Chrome extension, we've always been able to, as you know, we had launched our Zoom app previously. And so you have the ability to add notes to ad hoc meetings in Zoom. But if you were using the Google Meet integration or Chrome extension for that, you previously wouldn't have been able to create, a note for a meeting that you hadn't scheduled in your calendar. And I won't go in and show that today, but all that to say is if you and I just randomly decided to have an ad hoc meeting and I said, hey, let's get on a video call, there was no note inside of the Chrome extension, you can now very, very quickly just click on new note, and then you'll have it there and you'll be able to have that ad hoc meeting inside of Fellow too.
That's awesome. And for people listening, if you haven't installed the Chrome extension yet and you use Google Meet, go to our website and install it today because it's a game changer for your meetings.
Oh, it's one of the best things that we've ever built. The Chrome extension is an absolute must. So let's talk about something else, which is the concept of templates. So as you know, we have this really big template library, and we've always had this. And so there's many, many templates. You have your note templates and your feedback templates, and you can always have these workspace templates. And so workspace templates are things that as a company, if you wanted to create for everybody to have access to, say that you do your retrospective meetings in a certain way, and you want to have access to those for everybody, then you can add it as a workspace template. But previously, you had to be an administrator in order to make that possible. And so what we've now done is we've made it possible for you to change the visibility on any template and turn it into a workspace template.
Wow. So that means that, for example, if I have a great template that I'm really proud of for my, let's say, one-on-one meetings, I can share it with everyone in the company, right? Or every other manager in the company.
Yeah. And
that's really
one
cool.
of the nice things is how many times has someone else come to you and said, hey, we're kind of running this meeting. I'd love to use your template. And why let everybody kind of start from scratch? This is a really, really good way of sharing knowledge across the organization and making it really easy for people to adopt workflows that already work.
That's amazing. And speaking of sharing workflows that already work, I know about this second announcement.
Yeah, what is it? Maybe you can describe it.
So you're pointing to the submit to Fellow option, and we're really excited to announce that now we're giving you the ability to submit templates that you love to the product. So if there's a template that you've used before with your team or that you're really, passionate about because it's worked really well for your meetings, now you can submit that template to us. Our team will review it, and then we will feature it in the product and on our website.
For all of those that are working in marketing teams everywhere, we will also link back to your website and share some of our link juice in that way as well. So this is really cool. But let's talk about the one more thing before we pass it off to the really big announcements that Alexander's going to be talking about. Super excited for those.
Don't
And
leave yet. Alexandra has 3 big announcements that we think everyone with client-facing meetings and asynchronous meetings, amongst other meetings, will love. And after that, Aiden will be doing a live Q&A. So don't forget to stay for that.
okay, but we're not done either.
Nope.
Like,
We have one
yeah,
more
so
thing.
we have something really cool that we wanna show you. I want to show you this because in Fellow, you've always had the ability to, add images or screenshots. And if you don't know where that is, that was always, that's, add images and video or PDFs or anything else. But one new thing that we've now added is the ability for you to add video
Oh, wow.
directly inside a Fellow. So as you notice, all I did was I loaded a YouTube link. And so now this exists in Fellow. I can minimize it if I want. I can play it right there. But this is a really, really great way for you to be able to add more asynchronous material that people can kind of watch and interact with directly within Fellow.
Yeah, or encourage people to prepare ahead of time of the meeting. If there's a video that they need to watch, for example, I know some managers like to share training material with their teams. So now you can embed those videos in the meeting note and have everyone discuss and comment on the video during the meeting. But another interesting use case, Aiden, that I've heard for this embed, especially our Spotify one, which by the way, you can also embed links from Spotify, is one manager from our community shared that she likes to start her team meetings with some music and they rotate who picks the song every week. So I think that's really fun. Just like play some music at the beginning of your meeting. But like you can see, we also support other services like Figma, Miro, Vimeo. So one of my favorite use cases, if you go back to the note, is to embed Figma files for your design review meetings. So in this case, for example, I just embedded a Figma file of our YouTube show, The Art of the Meeting. So as you can see, we were working on these designs. If the design team wants to show it to the marketing team during a meeting, it's embedded right in Fellow.
Yeah, this is really nice. I love the logo for The Art of the Meeting. It's so
really
nice.
cool.
And yeah, you can see how much work has really gone into it. Super, super nice. Yeah, so we use this for our design review meetings. The other one is Miro. Is, we all really love Miro. You can embed Miro directly within Fellow. And so we're constantly adding more embeds. So if there are other things that you think are really good for us to think about, this is, let us know, give us the feedback, and we'd love to add those as well. But before we pass it on to Alexandra, should we do a quick recap?
Let's do a recap.
All right. So there's so many things that we talked about before we show the exciting things from Alexandra, but one of them was this meeting automation. So now you've got this lightning bolt at the top. You can program your meetings to send notes or remind people to add notes pre or post. One of my favorite workflows is use this for a stand-up meeting. Completely automate your stand-up meetings. It will change the way that you work. Objectives is huge. One of the places where goals are discussed the most is in meetings. And so we've vertically integrated the experience. We've bought it into Fellow so you can have the best possible meetings to discuss the goals for your team and for your company. And of course, you can now actually have teams in Fellow. So it's more than just individuals that you can tag. Teams are there. 360 feedback. This is great. It's end of the year. You're doing performance reviews. Now you can actually do all of that inside of Fellow. Anonymous feedback. Fellow is a lot faster today. The Chrome extension, again, this is if you do not have this, you have not experienced Fellow, go out and get it. Huge improvements there. We've added the ability for you to share templates to your whole workspace. And of course, possibly one of our favorites is a lot of embeds within the tool.
That's a lot. Thank you to the team that worked on these features. And I think embeds is a great way to pass it on to Alexandra, Aiden, because she has some very special surprises for our users now.
Yeah, so without further ado, Alexandra, take it over.
Hi everyone, I'm Alexandra Sunderland and I'm an engineering manager here at Fellow, and I am so excited to show you a bunch of the cool new features that the team just launched. So I'm going to dive right into a demo. And what I want to start by showing you is our new integration with LOOM. So Aiden and Manuela probably already showed you how we can do some really cool things like embed LOOM videos and YouTube videos and all sorts of different new media and content directly into Fellow Notes, but I want to show you how we're actually using some of this stuff in our day-to-day work as well. So in this note that I have here, I've embedded our team has embedded a couple different videos because this is our async team update meeting. So I know Fellow is a meeting management platform, and maybe you think that means that we have meetings all day, every day, but we don't. We actually believe in organizing our work really well, and that means sometimes not actually meeting in person or over video call all the time, and sometimes it means focusing on async updates and giving everyone a little bit more time back, working better together over different time zones. So one of the things that we do sometimes is we have asynchronous team updates where the event is still on our calendar, it acts as a placeholder with a note for content, but we don't actually get together and give updates over a video call. So what we do now that we have this LOOM integration, we don't just get to embed videos anymore. We actually have this brand new command. You can open it up like this by typing /loom, or you can click on the video call button down in the toolbar here. You don't have to have an account. I'm just gonna make myself smaller here so you can see. You see it too with me now. I'm using LOOM for this as well. It's a great tool. But you get full access to all the controls that you would have if you happen to have the Chrome extension or the LOOM desktop app installed. I can go ahead and start recording. I'll record this tab that I'm looking at. All right, now I'm recording in doubles. So let's pretend this is my update for today. I'm gonna finish recording here. And what I got now is a preview of that video. And you can get a link to the video from here. You can preview it. All right, now I'm recording in doubles. So you get full access to all the controls you normally would within LOOM. You can open it in a new tab. If you happen to be signed into LOOM in the browser, then this automatically gets associated with your user account and it will show up in your video library. But I want to take this video and insert it into my Fellow note. Normally what I would have to do is go record it separately, grab the link, paste it into the note, have it show up. All I have to do now is press insert recording, and it gets automatically embedded for everyone to see. And I'm going to collapse that so I'm not taking up too much space in the note here. This is how we have been doing our async updates, and we find this a really good solution. I love using LOOM for videos like this. But today what I want to do, so I have done my update, let's pretend I said something real, and I now have to jump over to a sales demo. So I'll open up my home tab, jump into the sales demo. Let me close that. And this is the next integration that I want to show you over here above the private notes section. We have built a Salesforce integration. This is something that is going to make sales calls so much easier, easier to prepare for, easier to take notes during, easier to send information to Salesforce after. How it works is we look out for any external attendees on events. So let's say I work at Fellow. So if I was meeting with someone from, well, here I have Alexander Incorporated. If I was meeting from someone from there, we see their email in the event and we automatically pull in information about that account, contacts, opportunity, and any cases in Salesforce. We pull those in and display them in this side panel for you. This works if you have multiple people you're meeting with. In this case, I just have the one. And this makes it really easy to prepare for notes on a sales call because these are all direct links into Salesforce. And this makes it nice and easy to prepare for meetings. So the sidebar here actually has links directly to all of these different objects. I'll jump over to the contact here. So very easy to easily find information relevant to the call so that you're able to prepare without having to juggle tabs and go search for things everywhere. So we've made that nice and simple. Once you have the call and you take notes, I have a couple notes here getting ready for the call, but once you're done, what we found people normally like doing is writing those notes directly in Salesforce. And before we didn't have a terrific way of having people take notes in Fellow and then put them in Salesforce. Maybe you're copy pasting, maybe you're using Salesforce entirely for meeting notes and using Fellow for other things. But now the great thing is you can use Fellow for all of your sales notes and then use this button to send the notes directly to Salesforce so that you don't have to copy paste, you don't have to go searching for those items, and you don't have to take your notes directly in Salesforce either. So when you send your notes to Salesforce, we pre-populate the selection with some of the objects that we found based on the meeting attendees. So in this case, we have contact. Maybe we also want to send it and tie it to the account. Press send, and then we get a link to the task that has been logged in Salesforce tied to that contact and that organization or opportunity. And the notes are available down here. Everything's available. We even let you know if talking points or action items have been checked off. And we include a nice quick link back to the note in Fellow. So that is our Salesforce integration. If you don't use Salesforce, we actually also have a HubSpot integration. So we integrate with HubSpot CRM, and that is the same concept as this. We pull in all of the information that you need based on who is actually on the call with you in the sidebar, quick links to get to those objects, and an easy way to send the notes directly to those as well. Now, I'm going to join the sales call. And I want to join, this is actually over Zoom. So that brings us to the next very exciting integration that we've worked on, our Zoom app. Now, this is something that we actually released over the summer with a bunch of other Zoom partners. So this was a part of a big product release. Zoom apps are a brand new feature within Zoom. And what it lets you do is bring apps directly into a side panel during your meeting and during your call. So you don't have to download any other external Zoom clients. You don't have to do you're not working with a chatbot within it. This is bringing Fellow directly into your call so that you can have your notes available there. You don't have to juggle windows or tabs, and you can take notes and see what's going on without losing focus of the people on the call. I'm going to jump over to Zoom so that we can see this in action. All right, so we've got Zoom set up now. I'm going to jump into that sales demo call, and I will not turn on my audio. All right, so at the bottom of the Zoom client now, you may have noticed this new apps icon. If you haven't noticed it yet, then you might need to upgrade your Zoom client. Let us know if you want any help figuring that out. But when you click that, you get access to a whole bunch of different apps that you can install. So we'll jump into Fellows. And the great thing about the Fellow Zoom app is that we are able to recognize what call you're on and show you the notes automatically. So you notice there, I opened the Fellow Zoom app and the sales demo notes for this call opened up without me having to click around, without me having to go searching for them. So this is the full Fellow note-taking experience. You can check items off, you can take notes. Everything works just as it does with Fellow in the browser. So this is really great so that you don't have to move windows around. You can look at the screen or look directly into the camera and not look off to the side and make it look like you're off slacking someone. So I really appreciate having this integration when I'm on my calls. And if for whatever reason you are on a call that does not actually have a Fellow note associated with it. So maybe it's because you started a call out of the blue and there's no scheduled event for it. Happens pretty often. We have this new button here that will let you start a meeting. And what that does is it automatically creates a brand new note, creates the event on your calendar for it, and makes it very easy to share those notes with the other people on the call so that you don't have to go manually create an event for this. You can start taking notes right away without having to juggle with your calendar, and you're not stuck on a call with no terrific way of writing in notes. So I think I am done with my sales call now, and I'm going to jump over to a project stream to show you the next exciting feature. All right, so I have opened up a shared stream here, Project Felloween, and we're organizing a pumpkin carving contest at work. I am very excited for it. And what we're using this stream for is to keep track of action items that come up around this contest, planning out details. A very common thing that we do, we have a lot of shared streams for every project that we work on here so that we can keep track of things outside of the context of meetings. I find it's really nice having a meeting stream for notes that happen when we're talking, and then a shared stream for tracking details that aren't necessarily time-based. So what we have is a series of action items at the bottom, and some of us use ASANA to track our action items. And so we do have an ASANA integration. And what that was letting you do before is connect it at the user level so that every single action item that was assigned to you in Fellow would be pushed to a specific project in ASANA that you chose. And while that works in a lot of cases for different people's workflows, we also heard that that wasn't necessarily the best way of going about it for people who work together on a lot of projects. And so we've made this really great improvement to the ASANA integration. And for any stream now, in your stream settings, there is an ASANA tab, which lets you set up an ASANA project for this stream. And what that means is that in this stream, any action items that are created will get pushed over to ASANA regardless of who they're assigned to. So I could have 10 people in this shared stream. I could set up the ASANA project, and even if nobody else in the stream connects ASANA or even has a user account on ASANA, all of the action items in here will get pushed over to that stream, which can make it a little bit easier to plan out tasks and use ASANA's task management features when you're working on projects with people. So I'll go ahead and select the Fellow workspace, and we have a ASANA project called Fellowine set up specifically for this project. I find it makes a lot of sense to have like a one-to-one Fellow stream ASANA project type of correlation. And then I am going to connect this, and we have now connected the ASANA project to this Fellow stream. So anytime I add anything here, carve some pumpkins, those action items are now being pushed over to ASANA. And if I check them off here, they'll be checked off on ASANA, vice versa. And that, I think, is going to be something that makes a big difference for people's workflows if you're using that kind of integration. That's all that I have to show for you today. I hope you really enjoyed the Salesforce integration, the Loom integration, the Zoom integration, and our ASANA integration. Lots of integrations all around. We're so excited to hear your feedback on them. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you, Alexandra. Now, without further ado, we would like to invite you to a live Q&A with Fellow's CEO and co-founder, Aidan Reside.